Welcome to Talking All Things Business. I'm Faye Waterman, your host, and my guest is Lainie Chait.
Hello.
And Laine is a writer, a storyteller, a comedian, and a teacher. And she is here today to talk about who she is, what she does, why she does what she does, and maybe some of the problems that she helps people solve. Is that right, Laine?
Yes. It's lots of problems that I also give them, but I do help them solve a lot of stuff.
Okay, well, let's start with a little bit of background about who you are and where you come from, Laine.
Well, I was born in Melbourne, Australia, and I went to school here and basically lived in Melbourne, Australia for a very long time, possibly into my 20s, and at 28 then went up to northern Australia to live for a little bit, or northern New South Wales. And I started my life off as a vet nurse. I basically didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. I thought, okay, I travelled, I did all that stuff, and then I had to come back and toe the line.
Oh, who made you toe the line?
Just because I needed to make money, because I wanted to go back overseas again, so I needed the cash. So I was like, well, how am I going to? I can go into hospitality, which I tried out, and that just
Wasn't you?
Wasn't me.
Okay. How long did you stay in the hospitality side of things?
A year, I think.
Didn't last long, did you?
No. Although I do bar work now, every now and then. But it was that whole waiter,
the whole lot of it.
It didn't mesh.
It didn't sit well with you.
No, it didn't sit. So I thought, what do I actually want to do? Love animals, and I'll just go and study something to do with animals.
Right. Okay. So what did you do?
So in the 90s, I basically, probably from about 95 to 2000, or 94 to 2000, I just studied animal technology, veterinary nursing,
right,
animal studies. So I'm certified. I look fabulous on paper.
You look fabulous.
Fabulous on paper. And I worked as a vet nurse for a couple of years.
Right.
And
how was that?
Oh, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Especially loved the gory surgery stuff.
You liked the gory surgery?
It.
No.
Show me.
No, thank you. I don't mind seeing blood, but
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that side of it. And then life just sort of took me in a different direction, and then I got caught up in things that had nothing to do with four-legged animals, and started to date.
Oh, nothing to do with four-legged animals.
No,
so there were
more of the two-legged animals.
Right. Okay. And tell us a little bit more about this.
Well, no, that was just dating and marriage and divorce and things like that. But
marriage and divorce and things like that. It's just like
I'll jump over that because that's not business.
Yes. All right.
And then I, about 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to. So after the animal stuff,
right,
I went into sort of communication and social media and stuff like that.
Okay.
Also, I enjoyed it, but didn't really like it that much. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a master. What's that stage? Yeah, master.
Jack of all trades, a master of none.
That's me. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of us out there like that.
Yeah. Well, in this day and age, you really have to be multi-skilled, really.
Well, I think so in certain areas, but then what they're saying now is you need to focus on one thing and be good at that, and then add on and add on and add on to it. Yeah. So, it doesn't really matter. You can be a jack of all trades and a master of none. It's entirely up to you how you run your life, isn't it?
I mean, that's why I say I look fabulous on paper, but what I can actually do is doesn't sort of equate to that. What I can remember. So after the communications and all that sort of stuff, I came back to Melbourne because I wasn't living here, and then that's when I got into the teaching.
Right.
A door opened, and it was like, well, we really need you. And so we'll pay for you to become a teacher, but we really need you because on paper you've got all these skills.
And we want your skills.
And we want your skills.
Right. Okay.
So I've been teaching for 4 years. In that time, I've also as a hobby, decided to start stand-up comedy.
Oh, now we're getting into it, aren't we?
Yeah,
Stand-up comedy.
stand-up
So
comedy.
what instigated that stand-up comedy?
Well, I've always just had a natural ability to
Be funny?
be funny.
Right. Were you funny at school?
Yes.
People,
The class clown, that sort of thing.
right, the class clown.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us more.
Oh, well, it's just, I think it's survival. My parents got divorced, at my early teens, and I think just to cope with all of that, instead of going to see counselors, I decided to turn to comedy. And even earlier than that, I just love an audience, even as a kid.
Really?
An audience to, see if I could make them laugh.
Okay, so you became a comedian decided to seriously become a comedian about 4 years ago.
Yeah, so way too late. If I had my time again, blah, 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 I really should have started a lot earlier.
But you know what? Time, it comes at the right time. So you've got to go through the process of doing whatever it is in your life to get to where you want to be. And that might take a long time. For some people, it just happens immediately. But for others, you have to go through different journeys to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And discover where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. So this I found rooms, found this whole underbelly of stand-up comics and open mic nights and ways to get up on stage for 5 minutes and learn a craft, and that really resonated with me.
So how long did it take you to be brave enough to get up on stage, or was it almost instantly? Or it was instantly?
It was instantly. My issue was not getting up on stage. That was easy. It was having the right material, and the funny material was the hardest part. It's writing it. And understanding the science of how to make an audience laugh.
Yes.
Which I didn't actually look into. I just was just a bit like a cowboy and like, I find this funny, which I'll just try this out. And so it's a bit of a trial and error thing.
So there is an actual science to being a comedian.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
There is definitely a scientific formula. For those academics that are comedians,
right,
there is a formula to it.
Okay.
Not everyone goes by it. I don't know it myself.
Do you need to know it? No. Some people do, some people don't.
But if you want to really succeed, you should be aware of it, whether you use it or not.
Okay. So it's a path that you can choose to go down or not go down, depending on the type of comedy that you do, or all comedy.
That I can't answer you because I only know my type of comedy. I don't know what the professional comedians, if they use the formula or if they've just used their own formula and it works. So they're sticking with it.
So have you had conversations with comedians to find out, or just had general conversations with comedians?
Just general conversations. Look, there's the premise and the punchline and the ending, and you always bring your story back. So there's a formula which I'm aware of.
Yeah, it's a bit like writing an essay, isn't it?
A beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
But you've got to craft that into
and
where
it's
the
like
jokes land and where they where they start, what the premise is. You sort of want to keep surprising your audience. So you actually have to be quite intelligent to be a comedian.
Yeah.
If you're a good comedian, you'll always find that there's intelligence in there as well.
So, and it's all about basically storytelling, really, isn't it?
Because it can be, but then there's so many different types. There's comedy gags. There's just people that run gags the whole time.
Right. Okay.
I don't stick in the story, but just keep bringing in lots and lots of different gags and just keep taking the audience to there and there and there and there and there.
And so they do this by taking them all different places, but then they bring them back and then they take them somewhere else. So it continues on.
Yeah.
The punchline takes a long time to get to.
And the segues, it's all about the segues too, doing them really well. Actually, it's a craft.
Yeah.
You know,
And you can
how
see
you go
it.
from one topic to another without creating a clunky gap. So those
Change. Yeah.
segues
Yeah.
are really important as well. So yeah, it was really interesting. I'm still doing it, but I really threw myself into it the first two and a half years. 3 nights a week, out there looking for a room, looking for a stage, and that's actually not even a lot. But people that really want to
Hone their skills
are out there 6 or 7 nights a week.
And that's pretty huge ask, isn't it? Because I'd say a lot of comedians would have a full-time job and then they would be going out. Some of them.
I don't know about that, but yeah. A lot of comedians don't have a full-time job because they want to make it big in this.
Right. So they spend a lot of time, their craft, actually practicing and rehearsing to get it to where they want it to be so that they can actually perform it.
Yeah. And there are some naturals and there are people that have to work hard.
Well, I'd have to work extremely hard. Yeah.
Yeah. For me personally, this is what I know and what I've been told. I've got a fantastic stage presence, very warm, very audience-centric.
Right.
I like riffing with the audience, but I also know how to keep them sort of here. Where I'm lacking is the type of material. Because when you start on pretty basic stuff.
Yes.
Now, I'm not into politics, so that's out.
Yeah. Thank God you're not into politics.
I'm not a feminist, so that's out. There's a lot of topics that are out for me because I'm not versed and I don't want to be versed enough in it. I don't want to learn it just to take it to the stage.
Yeah. So what areas are you actually involved in? What types of things do you get up on stage and do?
Well, I like to shock people, things that they don't know. So because a lot of my background, I had a radio show myself that was called The Booty Call. It's all things sexual topics about sexuality and sexual stuff, and so I bring a lot of the shock value into it, but not in a candid sort of crass way, but in a clever way. So my shows are quite M to R rated.
All right. Okay.
But I believe they can be quite clever. What I do have to cut down is my swearing.
You're swearing because I've been to some of these comedy shows and some of them every second word is the F word, and and that gets a bit distasteful after a while.
Yeah.
You get sick of listening to that. Give me some good comedy and I'll have a really good belly laugh. Yeah. But when you're swearing all the time, it just puts me off. It may not put others off, but I'm not one of those people that wants to sit there and listen to someone swear. And
yeah, and it's about the venue. People swear when they're nervous.
Yes.
So I used to swear a lot more than I do now because I was nervous. It's just a habit to swear, to try and think that that's a way of
bringing the audience
bringing
back.
the audience closer. But yeah,
sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't.
You've got to choose your audience. Choose your audience. You've got to choose your
the way you say things and what you say.
Well, hang on. You've got to choose the content for where you are as well.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
And how do you do that when you're actually at a venue? Is it an impromptu thing that you would have a series of bits of content that you could say, okay, I'm going to use this tonight. But when you get to a venue and you see the audience, you see the venue, you get a feel for a change, so you can change the content while you're there.
Yeah. If you're at a pub, it doesn't really matter. You can, if you're not feeling confident to get up and do what you practice.
Yeah.
No one's going to know any difference if you pull 5 minutes out of your butt of something else or something new.
Right.
But if if it's a paid gig and you usually pre-ask the person that's putting on the gig what material is, what
Appropriate.
what audience are we expecting? Is it G-rated, M-rated? Is there a theme? Blah blah blah. So you are well prepared before you get up to it.
Right. Okay.
Is there going to be people from different cultures that might find certain things offensive, and if so, is there a little preempt thing that we can give just to sort of make them comfortable?
Right. Okay. And you've also written a book.
Yeah. So from that. Here's one I prepared earlier.
This is the one she prepared earlier, which is called Electro Girl. And tell us a little bit about this book, please, Laine.
Well, this book came about because I'd been writing it for about 16 years.
16 years?
Yeah, just journal entries. And
right.
I thought one day I'm going to take these journal entries and I'm going to put it into a book.
Beautiful.
Because it was all about my life with epilepsy and trying to run away from myself and the stigmas of
that
society.
are attached to it. Yeah.
And the stigmas of what I put on myself for having, I put a massive stigma around myself about having something like this. So I hid away from anyone else with it and just integrated back into society, all the while trying to hide it.
You did a pretty good job of hiding it, though, didn't you?
I did.
Because you hid it from the age of roughly around 14, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And when was it that people started to know or recognise that you had epilepsy?
When I started drinking and dating.
Right. So the alcohol,
and the late nights, and the not enough sleep, and the emotional stress of being in the wrong relationships,
yeah,
all triggered an already, I guess, sensitive brain. And so when those things would happen and the stress would get too much of all those things,
yeah,
then I would have a seizure. But no one really knew about it. Mum saw me drop to the ground once. I didn't have an actual seizure. I just had some of the symptoms that lead up to them. So some of these jerks that happen when the brain misfires.
Right. And it does. Let's talk a little bit about that. What happens when the brain misfires? What is it that actually happens there?
Well, there is a whole group of. So you've got your right and left hemisphere brain.
Yeah.
And when a normal brain functions, we have a thought or we move a hand, even before we move or get up or burp or eat or anything.
Yeah.
Kiss someone. There's 86 billion neurons that are working to try and find the right connection.
Yeah.
Synapse to connect to, send that message to my arm to actually do this.
Yeah.
It's an incredible highway that we have up there. And so with people with epilepsy or other sort of brain issues,
yeah,
the neurons get held up. They get the information doesn't get to the right highway. And basically, you get an overload. So you get like an electrical storm happening. So instead of one clear message sending through the synapses and to the right thing that has to happen, you get this mass of an electrical activity. And during that time, nothing's being sent. So during that time, you maybe drop what you're holding, or in my case, when I can't get all the synapses and neurons to fire properly, I go and have a grand mal seizure. And it's sort of like your computer getting too much information and then having to freeze.
I know that. I know that very well. That's very frustrating. But when you say you have a grand mal, what is actually a grand mal?
So a grand mal is, or they're called tonic-clonic seizures as well. They're the ones where they're the sort of classic case scenario where you see someone drop to the floor, or their eyes roll back in their head, they start frothing at the mouth. Like you just lose control of all your functioning because your computer needs to just reboot, basically. It's not getting, all it's doing is it's contracting. So everything's contracting until the actual brain stops having an electrical storm, and then relaxes and calms down, and then tries to find the right connections back again. You're basically at its mercy,
physically,
mentally, emotionally. You're at it. You just disappear.
And then, you know, if there's someone around when you're having a seizure, there's always been this thing that you've got to grab their tongue. Let's talk about that, because I think, you know, if we're talking about these things, we need to be educated a little more to have a better understanding of what we can do, what we should do, and what we shouldn't do.
Well, in saying that, I will say that, but I turned this into a stage show because I thought, well, this is great. It's quite thin, very easy read. You can go to my website, electrogirl.com.au. Nice little plug.
We'll get that at the end too.
And I turned that into a stage show because I thought, a lot of people may not read, so why don't I just, turn it into a stage show so I can reach more people, even though I have no training in acting. And I'll just show it. And I got this puppet of a brain maid, right? And she came on stage with me. She lights up from within as well. So she's a functional. So it's, we're like, she's my sidekick, and we were educating on my life with a funky little brain. So the stage show was more so people could actually see what a seizure is like, because I start the show with having an interpretive seizure.
An interpretive seizure.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So how do you start the show? Let's start the show so we can see what an interpretive seizure is like.
Well, I got a piece of music made, and I basically timed it perfectly to what. A lot of people think that a seizure is just that moment in time where you're just on the floor.
How long can a seizure go for?
Well, the seizure lasts basically from when the symptoms, for me, because everyone's different. Some people get no warning. I get a warning. So for me, the seizure starts the moment the warning comes, and that could take 20 minutes of just, misfiring and my body not responding to normal neurotransmitters, sending normal messages, normal neurons, normal synapse. Sorry, they're all technical words, but it's all part of it, because the messages are getting
waylaid. Disorientated.
They're not reaching the end point.
Yeah,
because they're getting zapped in between.
Yeah.
So
there's that interference in between,
Yeah.
and so they're not connecting on the right level.
No. So the message to keep holding that cup when a seizure is about to start, instead of the message so right now my hand's like this. There's a whole network of neurons working and sending a message for me to do this. Yeah,
exactly.
When my brain is electrically sending abnormal sort of electrical activity, this just flops.
So you just drop it. Just
drop it.
Hopefully you don't have a hot cup of tea or coffee or something like that.
Well,
because that could be quite.
When you try and fight it, yes, that stuff can happen.
Yeah.
You can be standing and going, I'm going to beat this, which is what I did. And I would fall to the floor and hurt myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of being a hero, I had a lot of ego involved with it. I didn't want people to know, and I didn't want to be different, and I did not want to have this condition. So the ego got in the way, and I hurt myself a lot, because.
So what sort of things? So you hurt yourself a lot. So you'd fall to the ground. Did you break any bones?
I knocked out my 2 front teeth on a bicycle ride.
Right.
Yeah. Bridge of my nose. Yeah. So lots of falls.
Broke your nose?
No, just I smashed it against a where a fly wire, the doorways.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah.
The footstep. Yeah.
I've fallen out of bed and all sorts of stuff that I've just tried to be a hero. Broken glasses. Yeah. Just trying to beat it. Yeah, not working with my brain, but working against it. Going.
So doing that just makes it worse, doesn't it? You should you need to allow whatever's happening to happen. Surrender to it, and then allow it to happen. Now, when you're out and about and you have a seizure and you actually fall on the ground, when someone comes along to help you, what sort of things do they need to be aware of, and what do they actually need to do?
So in my case, that doesn't happen, but it does with other people. So, there's a bit of a myth out there, yes, as you were saying, that you can swallow your tongue. You can't actually swallow your tongue because it's a muscle. So, but what can happen is that if a person is having a seizure and they're on the ground and they're on their back, the back of that muscle can block the airways, so they can die. So a lot of people have seizures and they're on their own and die. There's quite a large percentage of people that do die from epileptic seizures.
From cut off of airways.
And just other things going wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why, the rule of thumb is to turn the person on their side and put something soft underneath their face, because there'll be there'll be this constant sort of contracting of the muscles on whatever side that they fall on, or like go to, and something soft under the face will just stop your face rubbing on the dirt or the grass or the carpet or the gravel, which has happened to me, which you wake up after it and you've just got blood and someone hasn't done it, and it's this big mess.
Yes.
So put something soft under the face. Just make sure that they're on their side and that all the fluid that needs to be draining out is. There's also this common misconception that you need to call an ambulance. Now, this is more actually for the person that's watching than the actual person having the seizure, because people are just afraid. There's not enough information out there about what to do and what it is. So they call an ambulance because they're afraid that they won't be able to deal with it. All you need to know is that it will see itself out. It's the brain just rewiring itself. In saying that, though, put your timer on, because if the seizure does last for more than 5 minutes, like in the throes of the full seizure, and they don't seem to be coming out of it, then you would call an ambulance. But have more faith in yourself is what I say to people. Have a bit more resilience. I know it's scary, but
don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
Yeah.
And your face when we come back to consciousness
is what they see.
So if you're looking really bloody scared and like you've just seen the devil, that doesn't help us.
Yeah, because that's what you first see and you think, what the hell's going on, and what's just happened to me, even though you probably know what's happened to you. But then you've got these people, onlookers, staring at you and you're thinking,
what just happened? What did I look like? Oh my God. Which is why I never told anyone. I didn't want them to see a part of me that I hadn't even seen.